This is Scott Drake, and you're watching the Legal Broadcast Network. After weeks of speculation and rumors, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office report on the death of Michael Jackson has been released. And yes, my friends, it was a homicide. Maybe a surprise to fans, but not those watching the process here. My guest is a criminal defense attorney in Los Angeles, Michael Kraut, a frequent guest. He's a former prosecutor and a deputy district attorney. Michael, at the Kraut Law Group in Los Angeles, tell us more about the findings here and what could happen to Dr. Murray.
Good afternoon. Well, first, before you can have any sort of criminal case, you have to have the decision by the coroner that it's a homicide. Okay, now that has occurred. It's a homicide. Now the determination is, what is a homicide? A homicide is just the unlawful killing of another human being. Doesn't mean it's a murder. Doesn't mean it's voluntary homicide that he was trying to do it. It's merely that it was an unlawful death of another person. Now, you're going to have to look at what Dr. Murray did, what others did, what the drug involved, what the possible consequences. Those are the things that are going to be looked at now.
What do you know now about what Dr. Murray did, or what did Dr. Murray say he did at the time of Michael's death?
Well, we're getting bits and pieces out of the search warrant affidavits that are submitted to the courts and they're being released. According to Dr. Murray, he indicates that for the last 6 weeks, he's been treating Michael Jackson for insomnia, knowing that other people had been treating him before, and they were using propofol. And propofol is the common name of Diprivan, and it's an AstraZeneca drug that was established in 1989. Dr. Murray says that he's been using that drug on him for the last 6 weeks. He indicated that the night before Michael Jackson died, he had administered 3 other drugs that were just pills, and one of them being Valium, and the other ones, they were all to induce sleep. At 2 o'clock, he gave them some, at 3 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock, and nothing worked. At 10 o'clock, or shortly thereafter, Dr. Murray indicates that Michael Jackson demanded propofol, and he gave him 25 milligrams of the drug.
25 milligrams is apparently enough with these other drugs in his system to be very, very dangerous, right?
Well, I'm not an expert in that area, but I will tell you that the coroner's office is going to be able to tell, because this drug metabolizes so quickly, they're going to be able to tell whether it was 25, 50, or 100 milligrams or more that was given. So I'm not necessarily relying upon that. Dr. Murray also said that he monitored the patient, Michael Jackson, at the time and after he gave him the propofol, and only left for 2 minutes to go to the washroom, and came back and found Mr. Jackson in physical distress, began to administer CPR, immediately began to get him help. However, then you look at the LAPD and what they have been able to amass through search warrants and interviews, and the facts just don't support that. Apparently, Dr. Murray was on the phone for 47 minutes, talking to other people during that time period afterwards, including his practice down in Houston, Texas, which means that he's probably distracted. And he also, it doesn't seem to comport with the facts as to exactly how he was administering drugs to Mr. Jackson over the time period.
Now, normally if you were administering this kind of a drug, this would be in a hospital setting during surgery. You're monitored in various ways. You're intubated, undoubtedly. They've got heart monitors on you. Somebody is sitting right there during the entire procedure. In this case, it sounds like Dr. Murray is wandering around, and he's probably doesn't have him hooked up to anything to watch him. He's just using his eyes to see if he's okay?
Well, according to the evidence that's been seized so far, this propofol has specific warning labels that it's solely to be administered by persons trained in the administration of general anesthesia, and we know Dr. Murray doesn't have that. That the person is supposed to continually monitor that person, we know that didn't occur. That they're supposed to have artificial ventilation or intubation available, and the person has to be on that at the time. We know that didn't happen. And there's supposed to be oxygen enrichment there for immediate application, and we know that wasn't there. And we also know that this drug has a rapid onset of about 40 seconds. We know now that Dr. Murray was handling a drug that he was not trained, nor does he fall within the guidelines of the person who is the type of doctor who should be using this. So now we look at the the elements of involuntary manslaughter and see whether or not these facts support that charge.
Well, let's talk about what could happen to Dr. Murray. First, though, do you know of any other incidents where someone is administered this type of drug for insomnia? Is this a common thing that's going along through Hollywood, or what?
You know, my research for this and other interviews has not led to that determination at all. It clearly is to be used for surgical procedures, as to be administered by somebody who specializes in general anesthesia.